Good morning, everybody. I hope you will indulge me today for a different sort of video. Normally my tagline above is the Trailer Trash Tim Show is about politics, religion, politics, current events, and current issues. I think that's what it says. I believe that's right. But I want to shift gears today because there's something that's been on my heart and on my mind for several days. And I'm not too wacky, I don't think. I'm not too far out there, but, I think there's a reason for everything. And sometimes I think that if something is on your mind and on your heart, that you probably just need to go with it because there's just a reason you need to talk about it. I am sitting behind a Walmart in Alabama this morning, getting ready to go in and stock my shelves with cake. It's 3:30 in the morning. I'm waiting for them to open. I'm all ready to go. I'm just waiting for them to open the door. They open at 4. I got about a half hour to kill. So I wanted to go ahead and get this off my heart and off my mind and share it with you. So this is a different video, and I hope you'll just indulge me today. Tomorrow, I promise I'll get back on our normal routine and we'll talk about what's going on in our crazy world and with our crazy politicians and their crazy policies. You just talk about that so much, and you need to talk about it because we need to be aware of what's going on. There's just so much negativity out there, but I want to get a little more personal, and I just want you to consider me talking to you, directly to you, because what I have to say may be exactly something that somebody out there needs to hear. So I hope you will indulge me. Like I say, this has been on my mind for a while, and I just have the impression that somebody might need to hear this. Now, I'm not some wacky, TV evangelist or something that's sitting there saying there's somebody out there who's wearing a green t-shirt and you've got this malady, and I don't know any of that. I don't know the reason why I'm doing this, but I just want to do it. So I just hope you'll allow me the time to speak to you in a personal manner and kind of shift gears here. Okay? All right. This is what I want to talk about. I want to ask you the question of why are you here? Why are you here? Why are you on this planet? Why were you born? Why are you existing? Do you feel like in your life that things get at times a little mundane, a little predictable, that, you just get up in the morning, you have your coffee and you go about your day, whether you work or maybe you're a stay-at-home mother or something like that. And why are you here? Are you just wasting time, taking up space, or is there some meaning to your life? Is there some reason you exist? Is there something you're supposed to fulfill in your life? Do you follow me? Is there some calling you have on your life? Now, I shot a video several months ago where I talked about the relationship of job to calling. Now, most normal people, we are born, we go through life, we're educated to various degrees. And let me get some light on here. And then we go out and we get a job, and that's all good. We support ourselves, we support our families, our loved ones, and we go to work and we obey the laws, we pay our taxes. But is that the sum of our life? But what I was talking about in that video, if you go back, was the concept of job versus calling. I don't want to get bogged down on this because there's something else I want to get to. But everybody in this world, I fervently maintain, everybody, you that are watching me right now, everybody has a calling on their life. Now, I know I have a diverse audience. I have some believers in this audience. I have some atheists in my audience. And that's okay. I'm not busting anybody's chops about whatever you believe or don't believe, because it sounds kind of spiritual to a degree when I say you have a calling on your life. And maybe it is, But I really believe that no matter where you are, what you believe, or what you're doing, you have a calling on your life. Every single one of you has a calling on your life. What do I mean by that? I mean by that, everybody has something that they're supposed to do. It might be mundane. It might be monumental in terms of how other people see what you do. It may not seem that important to you or to other people, but everybody, I maintain, has a calling. There's a purpose. There's some reason that you're here. There's something you're supposed to be doing. That's your calling. And as soon as you can in your life, you need to identify your calling. This answers the question, why am I here? You may go about your day and just, maybe you suffer from depression. I don't know. And this is the cure for depression, by the way. And you come to the end of your day and you're going to bed and you say, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what I accomplished today. I don't know whose lives I affected positively. I don't know, what the meaning of all this is. And that, I maintain, is because you haven't discovered what your calling is. And everybody, in my estimation, has a calling. It might be obvious. It might be something you have to search out. I'm going to show you in this video how to find what it is. But I'm talking about the difference in calling and job and calling. Because everybody, well, maybe not everybody, but most everybody works or has a job where they draw a paycheck. Most responsible adults, at least at some point in their life, if they're not retired, they get up and they go to work so they can earn a paycheck so they can sustain their lives, right? And the lives of their loved ones. That's their job. It's your job, typically, to get up in the morning or whenever you work. Maybe you get up at 2:30 in the morning like old Triple T here, but that's okay. My days ends earlier too. That's your job. I'm out here doing my job right now. It's not necessarily my calling to do this. Maybe it is, because maybe I can affect somebody's life today. I got no problem with that, and I don't mind my job. I don't, thank the Lord, I don't have a job that I dread, that I loathe, that I hate. So many people are in that situation where they go in and punch a clock and they start an 8-hour shift or 10-hour shift or whatever, doing something they really don't want to be doing, but they got to do it because they got to pay the bills, right? This is your job. You've got to have a job if you're going to be a productive member of society so you can take care of all of your financial obligations. That's your job. Now, your job may not be something you want to do, or hopefully it is something you look forward to doing. You've got your job and you've got your calling. Now, the ideal situation is when your calling can be your job. When your calling could be something that produces revenue. That is ideal. And not a whole lot of people, I think, have that situation where their job is their calling, right? And this is what you need to be working toward in your working life if you're not retired. But if you're retired, you still got your calling. Retirement's a fairly new concept anyway, to get right down to it. Not to get sidetracked, but retirement is, I don't know where it originated. I think it originated with Henry Ford and the 8-hour workday. I think that's probably where it began, at least in America. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's where the roots of it are. But if you can make your calling your job, if they're the same thing, that is ideal. That's what you want to shoot for, where you make what you absolutely love doing, and that is your calling, where you can make that something that produces an income stream. That's fantastic. That's a win-win right there, right? You go and get a job that you may not necessarily love, but you've got to have a job because you got to have income, right? But you've got your calling. And that's what I really want to focus on today, is what is your calling? Because this answers the question of why am I here? This answers the question of what is my purpose in life. This is something I personally struggled with when I was a teenager. I can remember when I was 12 years old asking myself, Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to fulfill? What is God's will for my life? What am I supposed to be doing? This is a question every person needs to answer. What is my calling? And the sooner you can answer this question, the better. And I'm going to tell you exactly what your calling is. I'm going to help you with this today, okay? Because it's really not that complicated. How do you identify your calling? Is this resonating with anybody yet? If you know what your calling is, put it down below in the comments. I'd love to hear. I really would. But I'm going to show you right now how to identify your calling in life, thus answering the question, why am I here? Because it's not by accident you are on this planet. You are here for a reason. You're not here just to use oxygen until you assume room temperature one day. You are here for a reason. Your Creator, my apologies to you atheists, bear with me here. Your Creator put you here for a reason. And even if you don't believe in a Creator, you are still here for a reason. Let me get my reason right now is to get a sip of coffee. How about that? Now, if you're with me so far, let's answer the question, how do I identify my calling? It really isn't that difficult. Now, it's first of all, you could say, well, what are your interests and what is your skill level? You know, if I could swing a baseball bat with authority and power, and I could throw a ball and pitch a ball or what have you, that might just be my calling, to go out there and play baseball. Maybe that'd be my calling. But it's possible I could be a professional athlete and that still not be my calling. Where do you get down to the nitty gritty? Where do you find out really what your calling is? Here's the answer. Are you ready? Let me ask you a question to answer a question. What is in your hand? What's in your hand right now? That's kind of a metaphor, but let me flesh it out for you. What is in your hand? And that is to say, what gifts do you have? What talents do you have? Where is your, if you want to use the word passion or your gift or your desire, where's the desire of your heart? What is it that you really want to do and you can do, or you could do with further training, right? It could involve some more education, maybe in a formal institution or maybe just online, but it's, you think about it for a minute and you say, man, I would love to do that. That would be the coolest thing. I would love to do that. There could be some obstacles in the way of you doing whatever that is, but that's okay. There's obstacles in life. That's okay. They're there for a reason. What is in your hand? That is to say, where is your heart? Where is your desire? Where is your talent? Where are your gifts? What gifts do you have? What gifts have you been endowed with? Now, you may say, I don't really know. I don't really have any special gifts. I'm not an athlete, or I'm not cerebral. I don't have any obvious skills. I don't know how to work equipment of an industrial kind, or I'm not a physician, or I'm not a person of science. I'm not skillful in any obvious category. That may not be you. Most of you probably have that already. A lot of you have probably already identified what your skills are, but I'm not necessarily talking about that. I could be. It depends. Every situation is different. But you may struggle today with identifying whatever your calling is. You could be lost in life somewhere, and you feel at times maybe you're just taking up space on the planet. Maybe you live in a large city and you just feel like you're part of the masses, and what difference can I make? Oh, you can. I really want to encourage you today to heed what I am saying, because you most definitely have a calling. You just have to identify what it is. Now, I can't give you a specific answer, because nobody knows you like you do. But I can put you on the right path to identifying what your calling is. It may not be glamorous. It may not be something anybody else will notice. You know, you may not be an architect who builds great buildings. You may not be a mover and a shaker. It might be something that is under the radar. It might be something where you don't get any reward of any kind of a temporal nature. In other words, it might be something where the reward you get for pursuing and fulfilling your calling comes in the afterlife. Think about it. But you know, if it's your calling and it's for what you really want to do and it's what you love to do, you don't really care about that. You just want to do it. When you identify your calling, you have to really broaden your scope, and you have to open your mind, and you have to consider every possibility that's out there. It might be something nobody else has ever thought of. It might be fulfilling a role that nobody else is fulfilling. That's a key component as well. Where is there the greatest need that I don't see anybody else fulfilling? That's kind of a rule in business. How to be successful in business: find out what your customers want and give it to them. That's just business 101, right? This is identifying your calling. I can't give you a specific answer, but I can put you on the right path, and I want to do so by telling you a story. So let me get another sip of coffee. Several years ago, I was living in Florida, and I was working a job, and there was a man in the job, and I'm going to call him Bob. And we were in an office complex, and Bob had a rough time in life. He'd been through all sorts of things, and among the things he had been through was the Vietnam War. Bob was a veteran, and Bob was just there was nothing special about Bob that stood out. He was kind of a slight man, not very tall, not athletic, had the horseshoe pattern baldness, thick glasses. He's the kind of guy that you'd pass by in a mall or a grocery store and you wouldn't pay him any attention. Soft-spoken, kind of flew under the radar, and he had a job in this place where I was as the janitor. And he would just go around and do janitorial work. You know, he wasn't flashy, he just wore jeans and a t-shirt. But I would see him almost every day at work. Hey, Bob. Hey, Tim. You know, we just exchanged pleasantries. We weren't real close. We knew each other. But one day, Bob stopped by my office to collect my trash can, and something just hit a nerve with me, and he walked in my door. Hey, Bob. Hey, Tim. How you doing? And I just suddenly said, Bob, how are you doing, buddy, really? And he looked at me for a minute, and he said, well, I've had better days, but I think I'm doing all right. And I noticed it was time for me to go to lunch, which I had brought with me, and I said, Bob, sit down for a minute. And Bob sat down, and we started talking, and I said, tell me about what's going on with you. And I somehow managed to open up a fount, and Bob began talking, and he began telling me about his experiences throughout life, and especially when he was in Vietnam. You know, he was an older guy. This was back in the 90, 91. And he was saying, he didn't get specific, but he told me about a lot of horrors that he saw in Vietnam. And he said, I was one of those guys that came home and I didn't get any kind of a welcome from too many people. Nobody seemed to care. And I don't know if you would attach the post-traumatic stress disorder to Bob or not, but you probably would. But he went on to tell me, he said, I've been thinking actually from time to time in my life about checking out, because he'd been so traumatized by his experiences in war and in life. And I tried to encourage Bob, and time went on and months went by, and we started getting to be pretty good buddies. And I was trying to counsel Bob or just be a friend to Bob and listen to Bob when he talked. But I noticed in time, Bob was starting to get better, and he was starting to perk up a little bit, and his attitude seemed to improve. And he stopped by the office another day and sat down, and we started talking. And he said, you know, I've been struggling with life, and I've been trying to figure out, why am I here? Was I here just to take up space? Was I here just to go fight in Vietnam? Is that the sum of my life? He said, I saw some of my buddies get killed there, and I've struggled with why am I here? But you know, sometime in that period of time, in the months since I started talking to Bob, Bob somehow managed to find his calling in life. And his story ends well. Do you know what his calling was? One day we were talking, and Bob was struggling with this thing, why am I here? He was struggling with suicide, with thoughts of suicide. And I was trying to, you know, that's a tough one. I was trying to encourage him. No, buddy, you know, you need to be here. I need you here, and this kind of thing. You're my friend. I need you here. And Bob would just struggle with, why am I here? He was absolutely suicidal. And I was fearful that one day I was going to hear he had done the deed. And he had done, as he said, he had checked out. He didn't check out. He came by my office another day, and he said, you know, I've been wondering, as I've told you, why I'm here. He said, but I found out recently why I'm here. I found out what my calling is. He said, I can't sing. I can't play an instrument. I don't have any obvious talents. He said, but one night I was in my room asking the question of why I'm here, and it finally dawned on me that I do have a talent. I do have a calling, and I found out what it is. I said, okay, what is it? He said, you know what my talent is? I can read. I can read. That's my talent. He said, so rather than sitting in my bedroom, depressed, contemplating suicide, I picked myself up and I got in my car and drove to a nursing home. And I checked in at the desk and told them who I was and why I was there. And I just started going into a room to see who was there. And the first room I came into, there was an elderly lady. I didn't know her. She didn't know me. She was in the room all alone, sitting in a chair. And I walked in and introduced myself and asked if I could sit down. And she said, of course. And he said to this lady, would you mind if I read to you? She said, no, I don't mind. He said, is there anything in particular you'd like for me to read? And she reached over and retrieved her Bible, and she said, would you read this to me? My eyes are not good. And Bob started reading from the Bible to this lady in the nursing home who, I don't know her situation. She may have had no one. And he just sat there and read to her. And they became good buddies. And he just made his way subsequent days down the hall until he made himself several friends. Some of them would want him to read a novel or, you know, a book of some kind, but they ate it up. And Bob endeared himself to these poor folks in the nursing home, some of them undoubtedly had nobody else who would spend this kind of time with them. And his eyes lit up when we were talking, and he said, I found my calling. I go to this nursing home and I read to these people, and they love it, and I love doing it for them. That was Bob's calling. He wasn't doing it for money. That would just be a bonus, a plus, but there was no money involved here, but it didn't matter because it was his calling and he loved it. And if you can find your calling, that's what you will love doing. Might be working on old cars, I don't know. But the ideal calling is something where you help your fellow man and you improve the lives of your fellow man, the people around you. Might be being a mother or a father or a good sibling or just a friend. Bob's calling was to use the talents that he had been given, he had been endowed with. His calling was not flashy, it wasn't glamorous, but he answered the question, what is in your hand? And he figured out when he did a personal inventory, I don't have any special skills, but I can read. And by George, that's exactly what he did. Now, I'm going to tell you, a person who goes into a nursing home and reads to the elderly folks there who just want somebody to spend time with them, that's a calling. That is a heavenly calling. So I don't know what your calling is today. It might be mundane, it might be flashy, but you've got one. You just have to answer what is in your hand. Maybe you can't play a saxophone or a guitar, or you can't throw a baseball. Maybe you don't have any children to mother or father. But I'll bet you a nickel everybody who's watching this video right now can read. You know, we can make our world a better place if we all fulfill our calling. So I would encourage you today to find out what your calling is. And the way you identify your calling is to find out what's in your hands. It might be something you have to work at to get skills to fulfill the calling. What's in your heart? What do you desire to do? You may love what you're doing right now. You may have already found it out. Maybe you love your job. I hope you do. That's ideal. But you have a calling on your life. And you need to identify it and fulfill it because that's why you're here. Does that resonate with anybody? I hope it does. Hey, listen, thanks for bearing with me today, okay? I know this is a little bit different video, but it's something I really wanted to get off my chest, and there it goes. So tomorrow, we'll get back to talking about all the loony birds in our world that are driving us crazy, right? Give me your comments down below. I would appreciate it very much. If you'd like the video, that would be fantastic. Maybe that's your calling, to like the video. And subscribe to the channel. That's definitely part of your calling. No question about that. Thank you, everybody. Go out there and have a fantastic Monday. I got to get to work. This is Trailer Trash Tim. See you tomorrow.